Good morning, this is Dr. Vaughn again. We're continuing on with part B of question 17.6 for our Psych 520 statistics course. So in part A, we computed the ANOVA table for this repeated measures ANOVA for this set of data, given the sum of squares from a previous problem in the text. We also computed the eta squared, and now we're going to run the Tukey's HSD test. All right, so we're looking for an effect and where it occurred between these repeated measures, if there is one at all. The first thing we need is this Q value. You look this up from the table at the back of the book. Notice we're using 4 different measures here, so our K value is equal to 4, and we're going to use, we're looking at this error term, so the degrees of freedom is going to be this 21 minus 1, so we're going to get 20 degrees of freedom. So use K equals 4, degrees of freedom equals 20, and you'll look up this Q value of 3.96. The next thing we need to do is compute this Tukey's value. And so the Tukey's value is going to equal the Q value that we computed right here, and then times the square root of, and on the numerator, we're going to take this 3.09 number, the mean square of the error, and then in the denominator, we're going to divide by the number of subjects that we have, which is 8. And we'll close the parentheses, and we'll do the computation. And here's our Tukey number of 2.46. All right, so that's important because we're going to look for these differences between the means, and then we're going to look for a difference between the means which is greater than this number. That's kind of our cutoff value when we're doing a pairwise comparison between the different sorts of group means that we get. So the first thing I need to do is actually compute those group means because I haven't done that yet. So I'm going to go over here and just add all these numbers up for the 0 and then divide by 8. Add all these numbers up and divide by 8, add all these numbers up and divide by 8, etc. So the first set of numbers, I add them up. I did this on my calculator, and I got 1.625. If you look in the back of the book, they round this off. So the next set of numbers, when I add them up and divide by 8, I get 3.125. The third set of numbers is 5 even, so we can just enter that as 5.0. And the last set of numbers, I get 7.5. All right, now I'm going to start to compute the difference between the means. And I don't need to compute this entire table. I just need to compute these, the top upper triangular, because, again, it's going to be symmetric, and the differences between 0 and 0 is going to be 0. So here, for the difference between 0 and 1, I'm going to take equals and subtract the 1 number minus the 0 number. The mean of the first variable, the first workshop minus the mean of the second workshop. Okay, we'll get 1.5. So similarly here, I'm going to do equals the third mean minus the 0 mean, and equals the third mean minus the 0 mean. Now I'm going to jump here, the second mean minus the first mean, and the third mean minus the first mean. And there's nothing special about doing this in Excel. You could do this up on a calculator very easily. You're just subtracting numbers. All right, and finally equals this third mean minus the second mean. All right, so once I have this, I would flag these. In the book, they flag these with an asterisk. But what I'm looking for is these numbers right here that are larger than our Tukey number that we came up with, 2.46. So this one's not larger, this one's not larger, but all 4 of these over here are. This one just barely. So what this means is that the effect that we're seeing is kicking in with that second review session, right? So you got the implementation number 0, 1, 2, and 3, and so we're seeing this impact between 2 and 0, and between 3 and 0, and between 3 and 1, and between 3 and 2. So, once you get past that second one, every additional kind of intervention thereafter is having an impact. All right, so the last part of this problem is to measure the effect. And there's actually several of these. You're only going to measure the effect for these ones that showed up as significant when you're using the Tukey test. So you have to do 4 of these different kinds of computations. And I'm just notating this by the effect that we're observing between variable x3 and x0. So I put the 3 and the 0 in my kind of awkward notation over here in Excel, just for the purposes of brevity in this video. And to compute this effect, we're going to take this difference between the means that we computed, and divide by the square root of this mean square error that we found up over here. So I'll take equals this 5.875 and divide by square root of parentheses and just click on this cell up here to get the exact value and then close parentheses and so forth. All right, so that's the observed effect. Again, we can classify this as being medium, large, or small, and then you can do this for the other four. And this completes part B. Part C is really just a comparison to a problem that you did back in chapter 16. It's just some words. There's no calculations that are involved, and so I won't include that in this particular video. Hope this has been helpful, and I'll talk to you next time.